Rick, you ready to do it?
Yes, good morning, Keith. How are you today? Okay.
Doing great, man. Thank you so much. I thought we'd kick this one off with a recent audiobook that we both listened to along with a few of our friends, which is um, uh, The Untethered at Work, which is by Michael Singer. And it's a really, really good book. And one of the things that I think resonated with all of us was this idea of looking for a job where you can be spiritual at. This idea of looking for a job that it helps you find your purpose and all those things. And Michael Singer, invites you to take a different viewpoint of that, which that the job, period, whatever it is a job. What who you are makes that experience spiritual. And so you have to work on yourself that no matter what the job is, it will be that. And we live in this amazing place in the western part of the world, and especially here in the United States. And you can look at other places in the world that don't have a lot of the comforts that we have, and how you can be able to compare or contrast the two and not be left with gratitude is a mystery to me. But I guess it's not a mystery, because if you can't, then the personal mind is involved. And what's interesting is that there is something to be grateful for about where we get to do our practice. I get to do my practice at Mayo Clinic. I mean, you've been there recently, Rick. You walk in that place and it is stunning and how beautiful it is. And even in that place, there are people in there that are so trapped in the personal mind that they can't appreciate how amazing that place is to work at. And I'm not judging, it's just an observation, because without the practice, I would be right there with them. I mean, this coworker is doing this, don't they can't they see them in the meeting? They're talking too loud, their personality is a certain way. All the little things that I'd be bothered by. We're understaffed today, and this doctor's doing this, or they didn't like my idea, or whatever. I I mean, literally, I'm at the effect of what my mind is saying about every situation, losing the ability to appreciate how good I have it. And the reason that I know the job doesn't matter is because I've been at other places that have been fantastic, been beautiful, couldn't have been treated better. Mission is great. And I made a mess of that. Now you would think that if I experienced something that was not as, aesthetically as beautiful as Mayo Clinic, or that I wasn't as compensated the way that we all are at Mayo Clinic, that I would appreciate Mayo Clinic now. No, that doesn't work that way if you've not trained the mind. Because when I was in Yuma, there I was in the desert in 120-degree weather, complaining every single day. Rick, I didn't miss a day. You know what? My job was to be a Marine. That was my second job. My first job was complaining, and I was good at it because I practiced it. So I complained about everything. Everything was a problem. So I didn't appreciate that. So when I get to Mayo Clinic, that's what followed me. And every step of the way, I have people and friends that go from job to job to job, looking to find themselves. They'll travel to another country. Where are you going? Oh, I'm taking a sabbatical. I need to find myself. Are you kidding me? Wherever you go, there you are. You're so it's not about the place. It's not about the job. It's not about what you're doing. It's about who you're being. And that's the one thing that I've learned is don't try to make the job spiritual. Make me spiritual, and then every job will be spiritual. And Michael Singer says they shouldn't even call it spirituality. You should just call it working on yourself. And so if I work on myself everywhere I go, I will have the best time.
Yeah, beautifully said, Keith. I can't add anything more to it. I don't, I don't have the same kind of experience you do. I'm in a little different situation, of course, older and semi-retired. So I really don't have that kind of workplace issue. But I do remember times when I found every opportunity to criticize someone else because I wasn't willing enough to look at myself. There are jobs that are terrible, and there are jobs that we need to leave, and there are bosses that are not going to be helpful and not compassionate, not caring. And we need to leave those folks as well, or make them better, or make the workplace better. But that's a different issue. And so I think when we're talking about the practice, part of the main thrust of it is that you are independent of the things that happen to you. And again, all of the choices remain yours. So one of those options might be to leave a job that isn't good. But the better option is if the job is, if it's not the job and it's the way that you want things to be, your expectations of something aren't happening, that's a little different issue, because the expectations that we have are the things that cause us suffering. And so we have to, part of the art of life is deciding what is actually a true problem that we need to actually try to manipulate or try to handle, and what isn't. What are problems that are self-created? What are the obstacles that are created? And how am I making this work experience worse by my attitude? I don't know, what we can do other than to, like Singer says, to make sure that when we're dealing with something that has to do with causing us pain, to look at the source of that. And usually the source of the pain is ourselves. We're creating a situation that causes the pain. And that's hard to get your head around, but I think it's actually accurate. We all know people who seem to go through life who are calm, respectful, they laugh easily. Life is a joy for them, and they're wonderful people to be around. And the reason why, I think, is because they don't have that kind of stuck in the mud idea about what things have to be like in order for them to be happy. When you were in Yuma, you wanted things to be a certain way, and when they weren't, you suffered. When you're dealing with something like a beautiful work environment and you still bring that same kind of attitude to it, it's you. It's
Yeah.
you, right?
And when I was in Yuma, I was stationed with somebody who was in the same, play, it was experiencing all the same things I was. His time in Yuma was beautiful. He had a great time in Yuma.
Yeah.
Same place, doing the same job. It's all the same. I've one of the things that's really helped me, I think, deepen my practice and my consciousness is this idea of not needing things to be a certain way for me to be okay. And since we're talking about work, one thing that I do is before I say that this is a bad situation, I try to examine I try to fall back to see what's saying it's a bad situation. Is this my personal mind because this is not meeting some expectation, as you mentioned, or some kind of desire I have? Do I have a fear about something? What is it that is making my mind, create this narrative? Then the second thing I do is I say, do I have any kind of inner peace going on right now? If I'm not experiencing inner peace, then then before I even talk about leaving the job or moving on, I need to work on me. So that when I leave a job or when I look for something else, I'm not looking to that to get something. Every time I come into the workplace at ToBeRe, and you know this, and at Mayo Clinic, I'm not going to that job to get something. I'm going to give something. I want to, when you come into a relationship, it's not to get something from your partner to make you whole. You go into that relationship because you're bursting with so much love, you want to share it, And when I go to Mayo Clinic, it's like, how can I contribute? How can I serve? Like everything is that. So in every job, even if it's not ideal job, your dream job, while you're there, are you using everything that comes up that's not to your ego's liking to help you become better, to help you go deeper, to help you become more spiritual? And are you giving every time you come there? If you're in a meeting and you can't handle it, they don't like your idea, or somebody's giving you feedback, you're no good at that meeting because you're not listening anymore. It's about your idea, And so you use those moments to let go more and more of the personal self so that you can be spiritual regardless of what shows up. So that's what I started to do at work. And when you do that, when you make that your primary functions, your intentions, is to let go of all of me that's in the way of this being a beautiful experience and moment that I will never see again, and make it about me giving. When those become the two primary things, it's amazing how little time you have to be bothered by what's going on. You have hardly any. to be bothered about what's going on. I have very little. And when something does show up, I start to look at, man, was that me? And sometimes I can't see it. So I call a friend who's got a strong practice and they're like, it's you. So they help me. They're like, it's not that, it's you. And I need that. I need that kind of objectivity and that accountability. And so somebody could be like, hey, Keith, you came to this fork in the road and you're veering toward the road that leads to suffering. This one over here is inner peace. Go that way. And so that's been really helpful, Rick. And back to the point, is not requiring your job or your loved ones to be spiritual. You be spiritual, and then imagine how much of your job and your loved ones show up for you as spiritual.
Beautiful. Yeah, and I think part of what you said earlier about spirituality being basically just a construct, a word that means working on self and trying to diminish ego is important. There's a Joni Mitchell lyric that I love, and I can't remember the full lyric, but it ends with something like, I love you most, and I am at my best, in so many words, when I forget about me. When I forget about me. And that happens all the time in the workplace.
Wow.
If you can forget about getting credit, great things are going to happen to you and to the organization and to the mission of the organization and your personal mission to help and serve others. I am at my best when I forget about me.
Wow. Wow. I love you most when I'm at my best. Isn't that the truth?
Well, I love you most when I forget about me, and that makes me at my best.
Love it. Love it.
You know, it's a foreign idea, right? You know, because we're always putting ourselves and our needs first, and then that creates that sets up the suffering problem. I didn't get it, so I'm sad, or I'm frustrated, or somebody was mean to me, or all that stuff.
Yeah. So interesting, Rick. Well, thank you for another great show. I love you.
I love you, buddy. You know what we ought to do? I think we ought to do some shows outdoors, because I really would like to get, some nature into our stuff. I think it's so important. And Mayo's has that. All of their colors inside of the building, if you notice, are all natural colors.
Yes,
And there's a lot of references to water and to things that are peaceful and tranquil. And steadying, which I think we all need in our lives. And nature is always there for us. You don't have to be at 44th Street in Camelback. You don't have to be caught in traffic on the 101. You really need to get out and be part of what you really are. You are part of nature. And to rejuvenate and be in it, you'll have that lesson brought home to you again and again and again. So I think we should do some outside.
I like you, Rick. Let's do it. I
love
you.
I love you. We'll see you next time.
See you next time. Thank you.